me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
I think we're in between that nice to have and necessity space. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, people are going to really see that we are a necessity. If you look at the industries that aren't going anywhere because of AI, a lot of those industries, choreography, other things are within our industry. I think it's going to seal the deal that we're not going anywhere. Rec and Parks is here to stay. But I do think we're going to have to look at things differently.
Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Rec Show, Leadership Series. In this episode, we sit down with Roslyn Johnson, former president of the Maryland Recreation and Parks Association and director for the city of Annapolis. Roslyn shares how she helped lead one of the most diverse and innovative departments in the nation, from serving 4 million meals during the pandemic to championing inclusion, data-driven leadership, and the groundbreaking Glass Gym Floor project. Her story is one of vision, resilience, and purpose, reminding us that parks and recreation isn't a luxury, it's essential. Let's dive in.
All right, we are live with my special guest, Roslyn Johnson. Am I saying your name right, Roslyn? Is that correct?
You are. You're saying it correctly. Thanks, Craig.
And we've got so much to talk about. She is close friends with a close friend of mine who introduced us out in Mobile, Alabama. You want to tell us who that is, who we both know?
Miss Shonda Smith, none other, NRPA board member, program committee for the conference. She's just rolling off as chair. So she's all over. She's a leader in our industry. And above all, she's an amazing person.
Yeah, she is a close personal friend. And I actually blame her for the Daily Parks and Rec Show as far as kicking me off the ledge. And so now I'm helping to give a little payback, kick her off the ledge to help you and her co-create a show. Now, what's the name of the show? I forget.
There's so much we would not have.
Yeah, she's amazing.
No, you should tell them the other about Shonda.
Oh,
and Shonda are going to talk.
Yes, she did give us a dog, and he has like 7 names. He answers to all of them. And I just gave him a haircut. I just shaved him. That way he looks a lot like me.
Oh,
but he had a big coat, and it was kind of hot down here. So,
yeah.
But before we get started, let me go ahead and play a couple promos to promote the show itself and what we're doing with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. We're now opening up to strategic partners. And we have several that we're having great conversations with, some that have already committed to helping us create more content for this industry. The first promo kind of talks about that and how you can get involved. So if you are a vendor in the Parks and Rec community and would like to get more involved with the Daily Parks and Rec Show and helping to create a media company for this industry, hit me up on LinkedIn. And then after that, we're going to promote one of our earliest sponsors, which is Palco LED sports lights. They can light you a sports field for around $35,000, which is a fifth of the cost of some of the other numbers I've seen. So, and they've done that across the country with some of the best Parks and Rec departments, City of Dallas, City of San Antonio. Some of the big cities have used those sports lights. So, Sherry, why don't you go ahead and press play on both of those, and we'll come back and start our conversation with Roslyn.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co, we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move Parks and Rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.
When you invest in our high-performance LED sports arena lights, you're not just upgrading your facilities, you're helping us illuminate the untold stories of parks and recreation communities. Every purchase directly supports the Daily Parks and Rec Show, a media platform on a mission to celebrate the heart and soul of our local parks and programs. From after-school activities to summer leagues, these spaces shape lives, and their stories deserve to be told. Why your support matters. Capturing community impact. Your contribution helps us assemble a talented team of digital artists, storytellers, and filmmakers to create compelling videos, articles, and short films that spotlight how Parks and Rec programs change lives. Sharing untold stories. From a child's first home run to lifelong friendships forged on the court, we'll document these priceless moments and share them with the world. Inspiring the next generation. By highlighting the joy, inclusivity, and opportunities found in our parks, we foster a deeper appreciation for these vital community spaces. Light up arenas, brighten futures. Your choice to install LED sports arena lights isn't just a smart investment in energy efficiency and performance, it's an investment in stories that deserve to be told. Be part of the story. Take action today. Purchase LED sports arena lights and help us shine a spotlight on the heartwarming stories that define our parks and communities. Contact us now to learn more about our products and how your support fuels the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Together, we'll shine a light on the moments that matter most.
All right. So we're back with Roslyn. Roslyn, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you and we'll promote y'all's podcasts a little, and kind of what y'all's vision and idea for that is right now.
Sure. So in the country, there are about 10,000 recreation and parks departments. Of those 10,000 recreation and parks departments, and this is thanks to Dr. Sonia Shaw, who did her dissertation on this and kind of brought this to light. But out of those 10,000 recreation and parks departments, we can count maybe 30, if that many, African-American female directors. Let's say we're wrong and it's 100. 100 out of 10,000 is a 1%. So 1% of 10,000 recreation and parks departments are led by African-American women. So Shonda and I think, well, we should certainly have more, of course. And, you know, you're always going to be looking for the best and the brightest, the highly qualified people. But how do we help others that look like us enter this realm? So we said, well, we want to start a podcast for starters called Providence, which is divinely ordered by God, but to help people that look like us and others. Women are minorities, people of color are minorities, but just talk about the things that we come in contact with, the things that we have to work through, the challenges we have. And so we said, let's start a podcast. And so this very amazing person, you all might know him. He runs the Daily Rec and Park Show. But he said the best thing to do is just get started. So thank you, Craig, for making us and forcing us to just get started. Forget about the microphone you need, what kind of headphones and all those other things, just get started. So we had our first kickoff. We haven't promoted it or put it out yet. And we're working on our second episode of the podcast. So thanks to you and Sherry, Craig. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes, it's a pleasure to help any podcaster in this industry get going. And we had some technical issues. We were going to record a live one last Thursday, I believe it was. We had to reschedule it, I think, for this Thursday or Friday. So hopefully we'll be able to have our first one live
Yes.
on there and promoted. So this is our promotion for that one. And it's called Providence, correct? Did I hear you right?
Yes, Providence. That's correct. We're toying with the name, but it'll have something to do with Providence. Yes.
Yes, I love that. And what's the idea behind that name?
Divinely ordered by God. So, you know, you can't do this work and not be driven by some kind of higher power, whatever your beliefs are, because it is hard work. It's difficult work. And, amongst the politics, we always have to remember to do what's right. And I think it really came through to me during COVID, because I started my new position then in Baltimore County 2 weeks before COVID hit. We shut down, the county officially shut down on Friday, March 13th. Monday, March 16th, we were serving meals, and I had started 2 weeks before. And I knew that schools are the number one provider of meals, and Parks and Rec is the second. So I knew that if schools were closed, who's gonna kick in? So we served just under 4 million meals during COVID. But also, as a director, as a leader of a department in uncharted territory, the decisions that I was making could be the result of life and death for my staff. And so if you don't have a higher power or something that you believe in during that point, it's rather difficult to lead. I'll just say that. So Providence was just a very fitting name.
Yeah. It is y'all are over so much, and especially when you frame it from being an essential service and some of the very essential functions that y'all serve in y'all's community. Like you said, it's a matter of life or death. And, sometimes you make mistakes and you got to, recover from them. That's where you learn a lot. But maybe let's go back to your personal journey into where you are today, even through high school and college. Kind of what were you back then as a student athlete or even in Parks and Rec? How did you come into this industry?
So everyone laughs when I say this. So my first intro into Parks and Rec, there were two. One, I played basketball for our local, we were Optimists, so it was like a rec council that led it in Baltimore County. But so that I played basketball, that was one. But also, I wanted to be a clown when I grew up, amongst other things. But so my mother and I took a clown class that was provided through Recreation and Parks. So that was kind of my first intro into Recreation and Parks. Didn't think much more about it. Went to college, was an engineering major for 2 years, hated it, and decided I was going to be an elementary school teacher. So did that. And while I was working or going to school as a student, I also had a part-time job, one at National Institutes of Health. I was a laboratory technician for the National Cancer Institute. And I actually co-authored a scientific paper, which is like, you'll need to look up every other word from the scientific paper. But I also worked as an arts and crafts instructor at Job Corps. And then fast forward, graduated, was an elementary school teacher, couldn't afford hardly anything. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm going to be facing. Became an SAT prep instructor. And then I had a very good friend who called me and said, hey, do you want to be associate director of Recreation and Parks for Baltimore City? And I was like, well, I think so. What do they do? And she said, I mean, I don't know, but it can't be rocket science. And so fast forward, and here we are. That was the start.
And how long ago was that?
That was, I think it was like 17 or 18 years ago. So I was in Baltimore City for 3 years. And we started, and it wasn't rocket science. You do the things you want to do, that you like to do, provide those opportunities in the community, and then you start doing it. But I fell in love with our profession because, I mean, where else can you work outside? I mean, look at today. I'm outside. I used to manage a donkey, a bull, some peacocks, some chickens, managing people, but really making a difference in people's lives. Our days are so different. People ask me, what is a normal day like? There are no normal days,
Right.
but it's nothing but working really hard so everyone else can have fun and be exposed to amazing experiences and amazing facilities.
Yeah. And so what was it like those first few years before you got into your position where you are now as the director?
So it was grueling the first few years because the director, my director was the youngest. I was an associate director. I was the youngest. We were under 30, and many of our staff were over 60. So imagine being a young 20-something, telling someone who is a baby boomer what you think they should do, and how to do things differently, and just really kind of implementing standards and collecting data. So I grew up in recreation and parks under city stat, and it's data collection. And in recreation and parks, we love to just do stuff because it's the right thing to do, and we don't really tell our own story. And we will have anecdotes, but we don't have numbers to go with those anecdotes. And so city stat really looks at the numbers, and we were able to tell stories through the numbers. And it actually won, then it was very new, and it won the equivalent of a Grammy in local government. So collecting the data and having those numbers and that information when people ask, and putting numbers on the number of faces that we see, it makes a huge difference. That's why I was so happy during COVID that Google had the COVID-19 Google mobility data. And we could really, for the first time, tell how many people were in our parks, and they use cell phones, kind of going up to the cloud and encoding them. And then you could see people's movement and activity, and how often they came to our parks. In Anne Arundel County, we had a 389% increase in park usership during COVID. So
Wow.
that's when we knew parks are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. And we had that data to present to elected officials. I used a similar data in Baltimore County. And when I was in Baltimore County, our capital budget went from 4 million to 120 something million in 1 year. So that was huge. Now, of course, we had the CARES money, the ARPA money, and people were looking for, kind of how elected officials were looking for how to spend that money. And normally we compete with police, fire, and education. And so, we went back, and I told my staff, look, let's put together a list of what we want. Because, I feel like they have file cabinets. I'm dating myself, but they have file cabinets somewhere with their list of things that they want. And we don't have any list of what we want. So let's be ready, because if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And so we started thinking about what we wanted. And my team came up with, the main item they had was 1,000 backpacks for $1 a piece is what they wanted. And I was like, what? No, let's think bigger. We didn't have any vehicles. We were delivering PPE. So I think we got like 13 vehicles or 14 vehicles so now we had a fleet, and we were able to get all sorts of things because of the data that we were able to produce of what we were doing and the impact.
Yeah. Yeah, that data is so important when you're really trying to describe what's going on. And if you don't have the data, it's just, it's all assumptions. And that's really what they're looking for, is the impact that they're making.
Absolutely.
What software did y'all use, or did you have a company y'all partnered with to help collect all that data?
No, we used, it's interesting because people think, oh, you need software, we can't afford it. No, the procurement process. We used COVID-19 Google mobility data, and we used pen and paper to count the number of meals that we were serving our partners, the Excel spreadsheets they had. So it was no real, oh, this is the type of data. In Prince George's County, we started doing data too. Richmond, Virginia started doing site inspections and collecting the data. And we use Excel spreadsheets because, we're paper and pencil, sign in, report that information, put it in the data using, some Google spreadsheets and things like that. But there's no expensive software that you really need to get if you want to start collecting the data. Just like you told us, rip that Band-Aid off and start with Excel spreadsheets. Start with what you have and then enhance it from there.
Yeah, that's such great advice, because sometimes you just, it's what do they call that? Analysis paralysis or something like that?
Paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, and we set the bar so high to get started, and we eventually never get started just because, well, we're never ready. But like you said, you can always incrementally improve it and iterate over time.
Absolutely.
Okay, so now let's talk about where you are today. You're at Baltimore County, Maryland. You're the director there?
So I'm actually in Annapolis, Maryland, which is the capital
Okay.
city for the state of Maryland. And I'm the director here in Annapolis.
Okay. And how long have you been at that position?
It'll be 3 years, I think, in March.
Okay. What's the population over there in Annapolis?
40,000.
Okay. And then
40,000, 7 square miles, 17 miles of shoreline. And we have our first public beach that we're working on right now.
Now, I wrote down that y'all are the Naval Academy kind of city
Naval
headquarters?
Academy. Yes.
And is that included in that population, or is that in addition to?
No. This is the census population. So Naval Academy is not included. They're like federal land. They're kind of like their own thing. and an entity all to their own. They have their own police department, all those things. So we will coordinate and collaborate with them at times. Sometimes the midshipmen will help kind of shovel snow for the elderly. They will volunteer in some of our after school programs and those sorts of things.
Yeah. And so it's literally like having a university in your backyard where it's almost like a standalone city,
Excuse
correct?
me. Yes, and we have two universities because we have the Naval Academy, but we also have St. John's University. Yep.
And how big are those two universities?
So the Naval Academy, I'm embarrassed to say I've never been on their property, so I can't tell you how big they are. St. John's is a small liberal college. It's interesting. They don't have tests and they don't have grades, but you graduate with a degree and credit. So it's a different way of learning. But they're rather small too, on our property, but 7 square miles is not that big, which is one of the things that makes Annapolis unique, and amazing. We're also the sailing capital of the country, of the world, actually.
Mm. Now, when you say the sailing capital, is a lot of those competitive sailing teams train out of there, or?
Well, we have more sailboats and sailing. We do have, I don't know if we have many regattas or anything along those lines, but we do have 2 sailboat shows, and people come from all over the world. 2 boat shows. One is a sailboat, one is a motorboat. But people come from all over the world to come to the boat shows. So yes, I am not a fan of sailing. It's a lot of hard work. I prefer an electric boat or a gas boat. You just pull the lever and it moves. So yes, but I
Right.
mean it's a skill for sailing and it's a place for it. But that's not one of my hobbies.
Mm. Okay, so let's talk about your role in some of your associations, because I know you've been super active in NRPA and are you also active in some of your state associations that you've been a part of?
Yes, so I am past president of Maryland Recreation and Parks Association as well. So I was the president of MRPA, and I'm happy that during my presidency, we actually hosted the first 2S LGBTQIA plus summit in the country. And during my tenure, and this is going to be kind of unbelievable for some people, but we hired the first ever African-American executive director of any state agency in the country in the history of recreation and parks. So it's hard to believe, out of all of our state associations, we have amazing leaders and executive directors, but there's never been an executive director of color. And so we hired the first one in 2023. And I always feel like I have to say this because people think we just hired him because he was African American, but he was highly qualified. And I was probably one of the last holdouts on the interview panel. Everyone else was kind of sold on him. And I've told him this, so I'm not sharing anything that he doesn't know. Everyone was sold on him. And I wasn't quite sold until we did the second interview. And I was like, oh my gosh, can we call him before he gets to the car so we can come back in and we can offer him the position? Because he knocked it out of the park and he's been exceeding all of our expectations. So I was happy that Maryland Recreation and Parks Association did that.
Yeah. And what's his name?
Stephen Allen,
Okay.
Allen, and he is amazing. He has a lot of energy. He comes from the Boy Scouts. I told him he can't tell anybody that because he's now Recreation and Parks. We've indoctrinated him. So yes, but he's an awesome and amazing guy, and he is really leading our state association forward. So we're excited about where we're going.
We'll have to get him on the show. You think you can help make the connection there?
Hey, I absolutely could.
Yeah. Stephen Allen. Sherry, make sure you write that name down. We remember to reach out to him.
He would love to. Yes.
Yeah. And so he's been there since 2023. So this is what, his 3rd or 4th year? Coming
Yes.
up on his 3rd year under his belt.
Yes. He is.
Is he enjoying his position? He's going to stay there a while?
He's loving it. If you ask him how he's doing, he says, any better and it'll be 2 of me. So
Yeah.
he loves it.
I love it. I love it. Yes, can't wait to get him on the show. And so then how about well, actually, let's talk about your presidency a little bit more. How is the state doing as far as attendance and kind of what's the vision, and are you still active in it?
Oh, I'm super active. Of course, not as active as I was being president. One of the things that we had traditionally always had our conference in Ocean City. And it was in Ocean City, I want to say for 30 years, but don't quote me on that. As long as I can remember, it was in Ocean City and everyone else too. And we had outgrown Ocean City. And a lot of people don't know that Ocean City is kind of like a sundown town. if you look at the Green Book, and the history of the Green Book was during segregation, and during Jim Crow laws, there were places that were unsafe for African Americans to travel. And so they created this Green Book that had safe spaces for African Americans to stop off at. Stuckey's, for example, was one of those places that was a safe place to stop off at. But the sundown towns are towns you did not stop in, and you just kept driving through them. And so in order to get to Ocean City, you have to go through many sundown towns. And so the vestiges of that are still in existence. So a lot of people didn't even know about that. But nonetheless, we had outgrown Ocean City, and we went during off season. So it was usually raining or really cold. So we couldn't enjoy being by the ocean. And then half of the places were closed anyway. So we said, we need to look for another place. So my nickname is Upgrade, but we found a 5-star hotel, and I helped negotiate the deal so that it would be the same place as the 3-star hotel that we used to stay in. It would be the same cost for participants per night cost. So we've upgraded. We're now at the Hyatt Chesapeake, which is a golf resort. It's on the water. It's amazing. But the good thing is we have the whole entire property. So our conference can take up the whole property inside and out. No one else is staying there but us. And it's a really amazing venue. And so we'll probably be outgrowing that pretty soon and looking for another place. And the only other place is probably anywhere that has like a conference center or convention center. So our state agency is doing amazingly well. We are looking at possibly partnering with Pennsylvania and Virginia to do an every other year kind of tri-state conference. DC is a part of us. So DC is included in Maryland Recreation and Parks Association. And that's something that happened during my tenure as presidency. So we're excited about that. But our members really make it happen because it's really a volunteer agency, a volunteer association. We do have 3 paid employees, 1 full-time executive director, 1 full-time assistant who Lauren just does amazing things and all sorts of things. And then we have a part-time staff person. So everyone else are volunteers who put these events and activities on.
And when did y'all have y'all's last convention, or what time of year do y'all usually?
It's usually in April, usually every April. Next year's towards the end of April. And of course, there's an amazing theme every year. And you know, our education committee just does a phenomenal job. So it's a lot of learning that happens. It's a lot going on, and it's just an amazing time because you see people from all around the state and DC that you haven't seen in over a year in some cases, but the exchange of information, similar to NRPA's conference, but you know, for people who want to get involved and aren't involved in their state association and don't like the overwhelming feel of NRPA to kind of be your first foray into a conference, your state conference is a really good opportunity. You know, NRPA is amazing. There's nothing that compares to it. It's you and 8,000 of your closest park and recreation professionals. And that's always a good time too.
And well, I don't think we have anything going on in April. So I might have to see if you can maybe get us invited because we are attending, I think, 12 between now and where's the next one? Philly? Philadelphia.
Yes, between now and Philadelphia, yes.
So I'd love to make it up to Maryland and maybe host the Daily Parks and Rec show live from the convention.
That would be amazing. We can make that happen. And the accommodations aren't too shabby. So absolutely. We would love to have you for sure.
How many attendees did y'all get last April?
I think all total we had between 500 and 600 attendees.
Wow, that's a good number.
It is. It is.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll definitely try to pencil that in, and maybe we can offline figure out how we kind of get the dots connected.
Absolutely. Yes.
And we're actually putting together an internship program. We actually launched that last week, and we have our first 2 interns that one is starting today, actually. And they're going to help us host our Young Professionals Network and a couple other shows so that now we have more bandwidth just to create more content. And we'll be bringing an intern to anything we do live and in person. We'll have at least one intern helping us run the stage and just training them on how to create media and content for this industry. But then they can go on to do really any media or any marketing department that they would like.
Oh, that would be amazing. So you have to have the 30 under 30 winners on your show in some way, shape, or form. So NRPA does a 30 under 30. And I think that would be a great platform too for us to learn more about the 30 under 30 winners. I usually score the applications for that. I think since inception. So, and I'll be doing it again this year. And it's just, I mean, the work that the young people are doing, you know, I feel comfortable and safe about our industry continuing for years and years and years because the young people are on fire.
Yeah. Yeah. We were very close to Megan Cool. I don't know if you know her. She was one of the
Yes.
in the 30s. She's been a guest on the show and been a big supporter. And so, I mean, I would love to work more with that program because like you said, it's just the best of the best. And I think our industry is in good hands, looking at the talent that's coming up the pipeline.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we're at the halfway point. We'll go ahead and play 2 other promos, and one of them is that essential services promotion that we made. I'd love to get you to respond to your thoughts on that.
Absolutely.
We really were using this. We wanted this digital asset, which is on our YouTube channel, free for everybody to use. It's no copyrights on it. But the purpose of that was to reframe the conversation around Parks and Rec is absolutely an essential service. So if I could get your comment on that, and then we'll play our Youth Sports Mastery show promotion, which is our Thursday show, 1:30 p.m. Eastern every Thursday. So Sherry, why don't you go ahead and hit those, and then we'll come right back.
When we talk about essential services, what comes to mind? Police, firefighters, healthcare. But there's another essential service, often overlooked, yet always present. Parks and recreation. Parks and Rec is health. It's the walking trail that lowers blood pressure, the recreation center where seniors fight isolation, the swim lessons that prevent tragedy before it happens. This isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Parks and Rec is safety. A playground instead of a street corner, a basketball court instead of trouble, a summer camp where every child belongs. It's not just about activity, it's about protection, prevention, and possibility. Parks and Rec is community, the festival that brings neighbors together, the cultural event that teaches respect and diversity, the open space where a city breathes. It builds bridges where division once stood. It gives people a reason to gather, to connect, to care. And Parks and Rec is economics. It strengthens property values. It drives tourism through events and trails. It saves on healthcare costs. Every dollar invested multiplies, feeding back into schools, into safety, into growth. Essential service is not just about survival, it's about thriving. And Parks and Recreation is where thriving begins. In wellness, in equity, in culture, and in joy. Parks and Rec isn't extra, it's essential. For our health, for our safety, for our communities, for our future. A message from the Parks and Recreation community.
At DPRS Media Co, we don't just create content, we elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics and powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
All right. I'd love to get your feedback on the essential services component of Parks and Rec.
Absolutely. I remember you debuted that at the NRPA conference, and it is 100% all facts. I'm so happy that you pulled that together and you don't have any, kind of logo, so it's not proprietary, and you're willing to let us use it because we are still educating people. Although I think people learned during COVID, hey, this Recreation and Parks Department does more than I thought they could do. I always like to say that there's no problem that Recreation and Parks can't solve within local government. And people have challenged me on it, and no one has presented something where we would not be involved or we couldn't help with yet. And you're right, we are an essential service. I mean, when you look at police and fire, they were open during COVID, and so were we. We are literally an essential service. Schools were even closed. So we're even more essential in some instances than schools because, when children were doing, they called it asynchronous or virtual learning. When children were doing virtual learning, they were doing it at home. And a lot of recreation and parks departments around the country allowed it to be done in community centers so that the essential services, police and fire, would be able to go to work and have some place to drop their children off. In Baltimore County, we even did it for those youth who had open CPS cases because schools are the touch point to make sure that the children are okay and nothing's happening with them. And so with schools being closed, we needed our children to have another touch point, and that was recreation and parks. So they were welcome in our programs, but we are essential. And I think people thought we were a nice to have. Now people are starting to learn we are a have to have. You can decrease your blood pressure, your stress by walking in a beautiful park. You can forest bathe. I mean, just all the opportunities that Parks and Recreation represents and is able to facilitate. You are 100% spot on. We are essential.
Now, what are some
So
of the
thank
other
you for that
services?
video.
Oh, you're welcome. And we enjoyed producing it. We were so deep into the content and kind of the spirit of what Parks and Rec was. So we kind of had all the stories that we had just been helping to produce. And so it was really easy for us to stitch that together. We're so immersed in it. But maybe you can speak about the different services that Parks and Rec offers as they shift gears from your normal day-to-day to a crisis moment where things are shutting down. We have maybe a hurricane or storm or some big fire event, how Parks and Rec is really good at shifting gears and assisting all the other essential services to do what they do.
So we do cut and toss, when there are hurricanes or, huge storms and tree limbs and trees are blocking roadways or falling, on places where, people have to get out. So we do that. One thing that we also do is we are a shelter. And so I'm proud of my team in the city of Annapolis. From start to finish, we got a call that said the shelter for the county had caught on fire. And so they needed to rehouse the unsheltered population. And so an hour and 37 minutes later, we were ready. And I'm talking
Wow.
about this happened at about between 5 to 7 o'clock at night. I don't remember the exact time, but staff had gone home. And I called my facility manager. He was going over the Bay Bridge. He's like, oh, let me make a U-turn. I'm headed back. We had staff come in. I was still in the office. And so we were able to go down and kind of flip it over. And within an hour and 37 minutes, we said, we're ready. And we think of everyone in the community. And this is thanks to Office of Emergency Management, who trained us really well. I don't want to, say, oh, we knew exactly what we're doing. No, we've gone through years of training thanks to them. But we had accessible cots. And so one woman came in and she was in a wheelchair. And she said, and my team, of course, was extremely proud and happy. And they said, oh, this is your cot over here. And the woman said, oh my gosh, that's for me. Oh, I can get into it. I could use it. So, it brings tears to your eyes when you think, this woman felt welcome, for someone to be unsheltered, all the things that they have to be going through. And then to have an accessibility need, sometimes that's overlooked. So she even felt very special. But we were ready. We had over 50 cots. We had a children's play area because we heard children were coming. We had snacks, we had food, and we were ready. An hour and 37 minutes. The mayor couldn't believe it, but everyone in the city pitched in. Transportation went and picked them up in the city buses. My staff and our team, we were welcoming them. It was an amazing feeling. So we do that. We will do, when there's flooding, we will evacuate people. We put on festivals, events, and parades. We do crowd management. I mean, there's so many things that Recreation and Parks does that people don't even realize that we do it. And, when people have a conundrum, usually elected officials will call us and say, hey, is that you all? And it's a blessing and a curse sometimes because, for example, we have a park that we maintain. We maintain part of it. Public Works maintains another part of it, and another entity maintains a third part of it. And so the part that Recreation and Parks maintains looks really nice. And the people who live by there are like, can Recreation and Parks do the whole thing? Because we just like the way you all maintain it. And we're like, well, no, it's not. It's not us. It's two other entities. They're like, no, you all just do it all. No. So when you do a better job at something, people want you to keep doing more of that. And I always say, don't start something that you don't want to keep on doing. So yes.
Yeah, that's good advice. Okay, so I know we've spoken enough to know that you're really passionate about innovation. And you've got like a flagship thing over there with your glass floor. So can you tell us a little bit about that, and then any other things that y'all would consider innovation?
Absolutely. So, I've always been passionate about innovation. It started when I was in Prince George's County, and I was the executive sponsor for Innovate Parks and Rec, which was a task force. And our goal was to remove all the red tape to support innovation. So people would have IPIs, we call them Innovative Program Initiative, and people would bring forward their idea. They'd have to present and do all sorts of things. And then they would have to kind of birth their innovation baby, meaning they would have to manage their project. So I really became super immersed in innovation through Prince George's County. But I've always been kind of looking for the next thing. So Nile Bhatt, who many people may know, and we were co-sponsors for TEDx College Park. And that was all about innovation and the wave of the future and esports, and how we are kind of in a technology bubble and things are going to change as far as Recreation and Parks is going. And, used to have gamers, and those were like people who stayed in the basement all day. They didn't have personalities, and they played video games all day and, didn't have real jobs. Well, fast forward now, you can win $1 million purses or prizes playing video games, and you can't even vote yet. So it's an amazing industry. It's another pathway to college too, because college teams give scholarships for esports, and now most of our NBA teams have esport teams. So it's really a thing. So how do we in Recreation and Parks help prepare youth? Because I think our job is to expose youth to as many opportunities and adults to as many opportunities as possible so that they can determine their interests. So how do we get in on this esports wave? And couple that with AI. When I was in North Carolina, there was a robot who delivered my meal. And I was like, wait a minute, this is like the neatest thing ever. But then I thought for a second, I said, no, it's really not the neatest thing, because that's somebody's job that's gone. And so a lot of people who have soft skills are people who are really going to be affected by AI, which means we'll have so many segments of our community that are going to be unemployable. And unfortunately, it's in a lot of our disconnected, under-resourced, lower-income communities. So how can we prepare them for the future? So we have this community center, Stanton Community Center, that has not had any major capital investment since 2000. And it was really 1999, I could say. So it was almost last century, but 2000 is when they did the ribbon cutting. And they had a concrete floor before they did this renovation, and they put rubber over the concrete floor. And this is a historic African-American school. So they haven't had any real huge investment. And so one of the things that I'm happy to say is that our mayor was like, we need to invest in this center. And so we wanted to turn it into a STEAM center: science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And we said, okay, well, what does that look like? So we said, we want an esports arena. We want all these sorts of things. And so if you want to have an esports arena, you need a huge video wall. You need a new gym floor, of course, for esports arena. And so we heard about this glass gym floor. And it sounds kind of counterintuitive or oxymoron like jumbo shrimp, but it's a glass gym floor. And the glass is about 3 inches thick. And it's 36-inch by 36-inch glass squares. Underneath of the squares is a 12 by 12-inch LED screen. So it's like mini TVs that come together and form a whole entire picture. And this floor, if you saw the All-Star game 2 years ago, they used this floor. So the floor does video, it does all sorts of things. So we were enamored by this floor, and there are two versions of the floor. There's the floor that has no lines and you can put the lines on the floor, but also there's this dynamic floor where you can put whatever you want on the floor using an iPad or, software. And you could change the floor in like 3 seconds by just clicking a button on your wireless iPad. And of course, it's like, well, we want that version. And this is super amazing. One, because if you're overstimulated and all those lines, you're like, okay, which line is the pickleball line, or which line is the out of bounds for volleyball, or, where's the 3-point line? Wait, what foul line? It gets very confusing. So with this floor, you only have to worry about the lines for the sport you're playing, because those are the only lines that you can illuminate. So basketball, hockey, track and field, what have you can do all the lines. It's just a computer program. But the key and interesting thing is it's an educational tool, because you can also have the alphabet on the floor, have preschoolers say, run to the capital A, run to the lowercase b, run to the lowercase d. You could put the periodic table on the floor and say, oh, find the periodic symbol for lead, the periodic symbol for gold. You can show shoreline and coastal erosion over time using the video. And we've talked with this vendor, and we've shared with them that, and they're like, we did not think about that. That's another whole industry. So now we're going to have children taking field trips to learn in a very different environment. And one of the things that they worked on from February until our conference in September, when we visited them again, I forgot the inclusion piece. So if you're hard of hearing, you can't necessarily hear where the ball is. But if you have the ball sensors, and there are sensors that have balls, you can see where the ball is, because the floor will light up in stars or flames or, whatever you want it to light up in. If you're doing bingo and, seniors, you're thinking B9, and they're like, what is that? Is that a B? Is that a 9? Is it a 6 or 8? What is it? You could just have it illuminate right on the floor beneath them in big letters. So it's really bridging the gap for people with special needs as well. And so with this ball that has a sensor, if you shoot the ball and it goes through the hoop, you could create it so that the floor lights up green to say you've made it. If it doesn't go through the hoop, it can light up red to say, oh, you missed. Or if it goes out of bounds, and they're working on that technology, if it goes out of bounds, then the floor can light up too. So you might potentially need less referees as well. And we'll see how that technology advances. But we're getting ready to be one of the first in the country to have this glass floor. And people think, oh, it's glass, can it crack? It can crack. It's with anything. If you take a bowling ball on a wood floor, you're going to have a divot, or you're going to have, kind of like a dip in the floor, and it would have to be repaired too. The good thing is that these 36-inch by 36-inch squares are replaceable. So you just pull that square out and put a new square in. You can also do pole sports, tennis, volleyball, because there's a cutout so that you can put the sleeve in for the poles as well.
Now, when will it be up and running?
Excuse me. So it's a 6-month lead time on this floor. So it takes them about 6 months to manufacture and get it to where you are. There's some prep work we have to do in advance. As you can imagine, it's a floor that's essentially a LED TV. So the temperatures get a little bit warmer than a wood floor, of course. So we have to do some retrofitting with our HVAC and prep the building. I'm hoping within a year and 3 months, we could have the floor in and working. We're also going to have a 354 square foot video wall as well, because again, it's going to be an esports arena. So we'll have it set up where you could play, kind of 3 video games on the screen, or do the whole screen. And so that screen will be the scoreboard. It's going to be in the gym. And people say, well, doesn't it have to be up kind of high? No, because this is going to be able to take the impact of balls or, someone running into it and hitting it. It's not like your glass TV, your glass LED TV that you have at home. It's a little bit different, but it can take the hits and can take the kind of pounding. So we are super excited about that. And I invite everyone to come. Stanton Community Center, City of Annapolis. You will know when the ribbon cutting is. Trust me.
I can't wait. Well, maybe we can do one of the live announcements, or we'll cover it kind of like news coverage. For
Oh,
Parks
that
and
would
Rec.
be amazing. Yes.
And so how many, what's the seating capacity of it?
Interesting. So right now it's what we call an elementary gym, which means it's that little small area around the side. And so we're landlocked, so we won't be able to bump out that much, but we're bumping out one space, and then we're going to have seating on both ends, which isn't ideal for basketball, we know. But we'll also have seating above. So we're building kind of like a balcony area where we'll be able to have seating up there too. So in that room, it'll probably be about 150 people that could, kind of sit in there theater style. And it's going to be a versatile room. One of the things we want is for every space to be able to be transferred into some other sport or something else. So it'll be a versatile space. And then down below, we think we'll have seating for about 120. So we'll have probably about 300, but we're also going to have video cameras in the gym so that whatever is playing, like, if it's a basketball game or if it's a play, you'll be able to see it virtually as well through a virtual viewing platform. So we haven't determined kind of that technology yet, but it's going to be incorporated into it.
Yeah. And then I'm assuming y'all are going to have some type of esports set up to be able to, host local esports, stuff like that.
Absolutely. We want to be kind of one of the host sites for esports. And with this technology, we'll be able to be, a site. Of course, we won't be one of those 60,000 seat stadiums that they sell out in 5 minutes. But
Right.
we want like kind of the community hometown feel to it. And in our computer lab, we will also be able to play video games in our computer lab and coding and video graphics and design, and be able to pipe it into the gymnasium as well. So there are all sorts of activities. You could do a play, you could have the yellow brick road on the floor, and all the scenes for the play could just happen on the floor. So your set design is even minimal.
Now, I don't know if you know, but we work with Henry County, Georgia to create the Rec Room podcast. And we had an esports show, was one of the shows they wanted to just present on. And out of that was born, we are going to create an esports network all within Parks and Rec, so that Parks and Rec departments can play other Parks and Rec departments across the country in kind of a league style format. And it would be like a Saturday event. So that's actually being launched. We're working it right now. And we're trying to find those communities that already have an esports setup, and then welcome them, to join a nationwide group of esports facilities in Parks and Recreation. So we'll definitely have to include y'all in that as we build that out.
That is awesome. And we went in. So we received 2 grants from Cal Ripken Foundation, two $30,000 grants to have STEM rooms. And so we have STEM rooms at each location, and we have esports tournaments. That's one of the pieces of our teen night. And we work with Taryn Morgan. He's out of Morgan State University. And he is huge into esports. Baltimore City also just opened one of their esports community centers. So yes, Maryland, we want in. So count us as the state who wants to be involved, please.
Fantastic. I'm typing it down because I'm putting together my short list. We'll probably put together, just to launch it, about 10 to 12 cities, and then we'll
Awesome.
expand it from there.
Okay.
But I think it's a great opportunity for, to compete with other communities, and that way they really feel like, and then we can always have like a regionals and then like a national championship where we could maybe even bring them in.
Oh, I love it.
So
I
that's
love
kind
it.
of
Yeah.
there, but sky's the limit on that. I mean, esports is just an amazing growing sector.
Yes.
Okay, so future of our industry. And maybe we may have to close on this one as we're coming up against the end of it, even though I did want to speak on a couple other topics with you. But where do you think our industry, maybe describe where it is now and where would you like to see it go over the next 5 to 10 years?
Wow. So right now, I think we're in between that nice to have and necessity space. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, people are going to really see that we are a necessity. If you look at the industries that aren't going anywhere because of AI, a lot of those industries, choreography, other things are within our industry. So I think it's going to seal the deal that we're not going anywhere. Rec and Parks is here to stay. But I do think we're going to have to look at things differently. And so one of the exciting pieces, TEDx College Park, we had Timnit Jimbru talk about the future of AI and how that's going to change things. So in the future, every person's not going to have an automobile. You're going to share an automobile with your neighbor, family members, and you're just going to schedule your vehicle to come pick you up, which means we won't need parking garages. So we need to be ready, because as these parking garages become obsolete, we need to have our file cabinets ready and have plans ready for what to do with those parking garages. So turning them into pickleball courts, turning them into, places where the community can have farmers markets, and, starting to really program, or, completely raise the parking garages and turn it into a park, turn it into a microforest. I think we're going to have to start doing things differently. I think, people can argue about climate change all they want. We have more and more floods. And that's because of the trees that have been cut down, and the tornadoes and the global warming. It's hotter because we don't have carbon sequestration. We don't have the shade of trees. So I think you're going to see more and more microforests popping up in areas that are densely populated. And realizing the benefits of microforests. I think we're really going to have to think differently. We're going to have to change as things change. And people and communities are going to begin to recreate differently at different times of the day. And I think with the advent of AI, we need to get more into coding, and we need to work on being an employment hub for our communities to kind of learn these new skills, particularly with ICE and with the immigration challenges. People don't feel safe going to government buildings or going to colleges, but they feel safe coming to their community centers, because it's a place that helps create community. It's a place that's helped them. And I think we need to take advantage of that opportunity and what we mean to the community, and maximize it as much as possible.
Yeah. I'm so glad you brought up about the parking garages part, and I think included in that is parking lots, parking garages, driveways, even carports on the homes.
Yes.
We were early adopters in Tesla, and we just got our recent update, and this car, by the end of the year, I'll be able to send it to go pick
Yep.
somebody up and bring them back, and then this car can turn around and continue to drive for another 100 hours in a
Yep.
week. And so that means one Tesla can replace 5 to 10 vehicles on the road, and this is just the world we're coming into, and especially in
Yes.
these cities that are all landlocked. Well, if you start
Mhm.
freeing up places where cars are just sitting idle, and that whole ecosystem just completely evolves, I think Parks and Rec is perfectly positioned to be able to pick up some of that land and use it for more for the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And building those microforests so that we don't have the flooding and if you look at the microforest and you look at the surface lot parking, the temperature on surface lot parking is 122 degrees, while the temperature in the microforest right next to the surface lot parking is 82 degrees. That is like a 40-degree difference. So
Yeah.
I think the studies are going to prove, that we need to really start building these microforests, or really start bringing back. And, you're talking about stormwater runoff. The microforests help filter that stormwater runoff much quicker. And the soil is much more filtering than compacted soil that you see in
Mm.
other locations.
Yeah. And as much as we try to put a lot of technology and effort into carbon capture, I think nature has provided us with the perfect carbon capture machine, in the tree. And, if we just plant a bunch of trees, them things are masters at capturing carbon and putting it into something beautiful
Absolutely.
that has so many other benefits to its community.
Well, and you're looking at low till and no till, and there's really no difference in the carbon. Well, there's no difference in the crop growth with no till versus low till, but the carbon sequestration benefits are huge
Mm,
with no till, because when you're tilling the soil, you're releasing some of that carbon. So if you keep it sequestered down below and don't kind of till, you can still grow your crops. You could still have the same yield as far as number of crops, but you're much better for the environment.
Now how did you man, you're speaking my language because I transitioned my garden into a no-till garden, and I love it. We just
Mhm.
add mulch on top of it, and we just
Absolutely.
don't disturb that soil structure, and the plants love it. Where'd you learn about all that?
So, I am a forever student. And when I was in Prince George's County, we zeroed out our carbon footprint. And I think we were probably one of the first departments to do that. Now we used renewable energy. So that's kind of like a big, plus right there. But we started to do studies on carbon sequestration with the University of Maryland because agriculture is one of the top industries in the state of Maryland. And so I'm very curious about the no-till and low-till. And so when fossil fuel burning companies in the United States buy these carbon credits, they buy the carbon credits and send them overseas. So the Amazon, rainforest, and all those other things. And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge supporter of that. And I think we need to. The polar ice caps are melting, all those things we do need to play a role in and assist with. But when you're looking at cities, the high rates of asthma in these densely populated cities, it is directly related to carbon sequestration. So I would love for us to purchase carbon credits, the fossil fuel burning companies to purchase carbon credits and put them in parks, because I think we could benefit from those carbon credits. And it's another revenue stream. You're talking about the future, but I think that's another revenue stream for us as Parks and Recreation, because we have the land. We're land banking many of our parks. We're not, some of us in Prince George's County, we leased out a lot of our land to farmers and they could farm it. But we were looking at doing no-till farming too. And many of the farmers like the no-till farming. It's just the historically, you till, you plant this, so, it's kind of like what we've always done, but we don't have the environment that we've always had. So we have to start to do things differently. So I think just from, kind of being around in our industry, seeking out those questions. Paul Gilbert's another person. He is my partner in carbon sequestration. He called me to contribute to one of the articles he wrote in the NRPA magazine. But I think it's the wave of the future, and it's another revenue stream for recreation and parks departments.
Okay, well, I'll have to get you involved in this other project that I've just started earlier this year.
Please.
And it actually has to do with Bitcoin. In Louisiana, we have 60,000 abandoned natural gas wells, and many of them are on state-owned property, and so it's a massive pollutant. Well, now that we have Bitcoin mines, we can actually put a Bitcoin mine on these natural gas wells and burn that natural gas, because a lot of them are just flaring it off as a waste product and going straight into the atmosphere, or they were just allowing it to leak, which is significantly worse. And so
Wow.
we were actually working with a university locally to put a Bitcoin mine on there and turn a waste product into Bitcoin, and basically knock out two birds with one stone. And it's a great revenue source as well.
I love that.
So I have to tell
Yeah,
you
we
more
have to
about
talk about that. Yes.
it, for sure. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This has been fantastic, and I can't wait to help you and Chanda continue to create your Providence podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Always an amazing time talking with you, Craig. You never cease to amaze me with what you're working on, what you know, and what projects are on the forefront. So thank you.
Yeah, same with you. I'm shocked at how broad your knowledge is about all things. It's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Well, I
Thanks.
appreciate you coming on today. Have a great
Take
week.
care.
Yep.
Bye-bye. You
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was Roslyn up in Maryland, former president and really just an innovator in the Parks and Rec community, and one of our great leaders. And I wanted to thank Shonda so much, Shonda Smith down in Mobile, Alabama, for introducing us. And now we're working together to create content for the industry of parks and recreation, especially minority leaders, female minority leaders, getting them as directors, and just encouraging them to step up to the plate and lead in their communities and take those opportunities as they roll in. And hopefully we're just doing our part to help get the word out for the great work that they're doing. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff coming up. Again, we're getting really close to having to depart for Georgia, Kentucky, and Louisiana. Those state conventions are coming up here in, I think, less than 2 weeks. Georgia starts the first week, followed by Kentucky the second week of November, and then the third week is Louisiana. So we're going to be a busy November. We'll be on the road with that one. And we're also starting to work with a couple of interns to help us create some of this content, because I'm running out of bandwidth to personally host all these shows. And we've got so many great shows that just need a little bit more manpower, and partnering with universities to provide interns that can learn how to create content online, how to distribute that content, how to edit the content, how to host. I mean, there's just so many valuable lessons that we can teach anyone with a wants to pursue marketing or broadcast journalism or work in our newsletter. And so we're just going to put our money where our mouth is and help in bringing interns into the industry from the marketing side. And then hopefully we can create some great marketing professionals that can move on to work in the Parks and Rec industry. So be looking for that. I think this week we may have somebody start hosting our Young Professionals Network show. Shout out to Michael. Hopefully he's listening because I got a phone call with him in about 30 minutes. So we'll be starting that. That being said, if you are a college student in marketing, in broadcast journalism, in Parks and Rec, we are now open to interns right now. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. Let's start that conversation, see where we can get you plugged in. Love to have you on the team and see what we can do for this industry. So we've got a full week of shows all week. Of course, we've got the esports mastery show coming up on Thursday. We have our leadership series. We have our esports, our Young Professionals Network. So tune in across all of our network. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please like and subscribe really on all of our, whether it be LinkedIn, X, YouTube, or Facebook. Really appreciate that. And then the feedback and the comments really do fuel how we innovate and how we really iterate and improve all the work that we're doing. So I really appreciate all the comments that people are leaving there. So, all right, this is Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show. We will see y'all here again tomorrow. Y'all have a great rest of your week, and love you guys. Bye.
Every career is a choice, but few careers let you touch lives. Not once in a while, but every single day. Step into a park on a Saturday morning. You'll hear children laughing on the soccer field, families gathering for a picnic, seniors walking the trails, finding health and friendship. And behind every smile, every memory, is a Parks and Rec professional. We don't just mow fields, we grow confidence in young athletes. We don't just build playgrounds, we create safe spaces where childhood thrives. We don't just plan events, we design moments that anchor generations. Think of the coach who teaches patience, the director who champions equity, the staff member who sees potential in a child no one else believed in. Every day, Parks and Rec professionals shape character, preserve beauty, and strengthen community. And the path isn't easy. Budgets are tight, resources stretched thin, but the reward, unmatched. Because what you give comes back in legacy, in healthier communities, in lives forever changed. So why dedicate your life to Parks and Recreation? Because here, your work never ends. It lives on, in laughter echoing across playgrounds, in green spaces preserved for the next century, in the young professionals rising to lead tomorrow. This is not just a career, it's a calling, it's a legacy, it's Parks and Recreation. A message from the Parks and Rec community. At DPRS Media Co, we believe Parks and Recreation isn't just a service, it's the heartbeat of our communities. We exist to honor the people, the vendors, and the leaders shaping the future of Parks and Rec. Our mission is simple: to tell their stories, highlight their careers, and celebrate their essential work. Our vision is bold: to be the trusted hub where leaders, vendors, and communities unite, inspiring innovation, sharing wisdom, and building a stronger, healthier nation. Through over 220 live shows and 6 weekly series, the Leadership Series, Facility Maintenance, Young Professionals Network, Youth Sports Mastery, The Rec Room, and Growing Leaders, plus our industry-leading newsletter, the weekly Parks and Rec Post, we're building a media platform made for the Parks and Rec community. And now, we're inviting strategic partners to co-create this story with us. As a partner, you'll gain 12 hours of annual live exposure with custom shows highlighting your expertise, polished 60-second promos refined for maximum impact, year-round visibility with dozens of replays across our media network, premium features in our newsletter, and amplified social media reach across LinkedIn, X, and Facebook. This is your chance to educate, inspire, and lead, while connecting directly with the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. This is DPRS Media Co. Let's build the future of Parks and Rec together.